It only things like that on.
It is going around.
Okay. It's not on.
Yeah, Kathleen Marvel has it right.
Okay.
I mean, I put you on the shoulder, but I think that's. I just want to make sure that I'm.
There's a big.
Can you get pace on that?
Three seconds. Oh, yeah, but I don't see the seconds.
6 o'clock, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I would invite you all to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. How's that sign-up sheet looking?
It is right here.
Has everyone put their name on the sheet that would like to address council tonight?
Right here.
So bold.
I know, so bold, bro.
All right, so it looks like that there's quite a bit of the topic is we all kind of tilt one direction. So I'm going to favor those that are talking about something else first. So we can get that part attended to. The Open Public Meetings Act codified in Washington State's RCW 42.30 requires public agencies to receive public comment at all regular meetings where final action is taken. The public comment period is not a time for dialogue. The purpose of this public comment period is for the board to receive input from its community. It is in fact a one-way communication to the council. There's no question and answer period part of this part of the meeting. Because we have business to conduct and we have a large gallery tonight, there will be a 30-minute cap on the public comment period and a cap 2 minutes per individual. We have a time clock up at the front. Should be very high visibility, and we will be sticking with the 2 minutes. At the conclusion of your time, please just surrender the floor to the next speaker. Continuing to speak after your time will be considered a disruption. There is no guarantee all of you will be able to speak. In the interest of time, a group of you may select someone to present your thoughts, but this person will not be allocated additional time. Address all comments directly to me, not to council members or the public. Members of the gallery, please respect those making comment by not interrupting in any way. I expect civility towards members of the city council and those in the gallery. When your name is called, please state your name and where you're from. Janet Campbell.
Just before,
Just
before we start, just to let everyone know, to confirm, you're on Zoom or on a link, so this will be live on YouTube. Just, I don't want anybody out here to feel like, oh, I got sandbagged because I said something, now I'm recording. You're being recorded, so, okay, just so everybody knows that.
Janet,
Hi, so,
introduce yourself and where you're from.
My name's Janet. I live in Stevenson. My great pal Dana is gonna propose some Airbnb legislation, and I just want to offer my support and very humbly request that we might vote on this in the May 15th meeting.
Thank you, Janet. Mary? Mary Park?
I
Yep.
thought it was at the end there. Well, thank you so much, Mayor. I just want to say, I hope y'all come to our plant and seed swap on Saturday from 10 to 2 at the library. Plants are free. And you're free to take them home and grow them and come back next year with your own plants and seed. It's the Stevenson Grange Plant and Seed Swap. Nothing controversial, too political, and I want you all to come and grow a lot of stuff this year. Thank you very much. Sorry, when was that? Saturday, 10 to 2.
Clock working?
Yep, it's working now.
Okay. Jesse, is that how you pronounce your last name?
Twitter?
Footer, there we go.
All right.
2 minutes.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm here to address the recent public incident involving Councilmember Lisa Voucher. As we know, Louser stood topless in front of the courthouse, intentionally baring his chest to make a political point. The message seemed to be, if this is indecent exposure, then I'm a woman. If I'm not a woman, then this shouldn't be considered indecent. This stunt puts the public in a bind, forcing people to choose between accepting a self-identification or accepting public nudity from anyone who makes a similar claim. It's a tactic designed to force society into an ideological submission through a false dilemma. But here's the real issue. How can we expect to maintain any logical consistency in our public standards when the underlying ideology driving this is inherently illogical? Transgender ideology asks us to ignore basic biological reality, and when laws and public standards are twisted to fit that narrative, it creates confusion, especially for children and families in public spaces. Whether someone undergoes hormone treatments or surgery, if they present themselves in a way that mimics the opposite sex, especially in ways that are sexualized or revealing, then the same decency standards should apply regardless of how they identify. Children passing by don't know the difference, and frankly, they shouldn't be expected to. Public decency laws exist for a reason, to protect the community and especially our youngest members from being exposed to things they aren't ready to process. Lastly, based on Louser's recent behavior and statements, I question whether this individual is fit to hold public office. Public officials are expected to show sound judgment and maintain a standard of professionalism. This act was not only provocative, it was destabilizing, and in my view, evidence of poor mental judgment. I urge this council to consider implementing clear public decency standards and to make appropriate action regarding Councilmember Louser's behavior. Thank you.
Thank you. Will Gordon? Make sure you introduce yourself and where you're from, please.
I'm Will, I'm from Carson. I'm just here today to be a concerned parent and citizen here about the incident that happened on the courthouse with Lisi. We all know he was topless up there. It wasn't inappropriate, but it was also deeply troubling. Our public spaces, it should be respectful, safe for everyone, including our children. As a parent, I don't want my children seeing things like that. I don't expose them to anything like that. So I don't know why it's okay as a council member to be pushing it out there like that. But what state law shows that there is no public nudity law, but it does, people can be charged for indecent exposure as long as it's a troubling act. The public display as an elected official has caused confusion, discomfort. I don't know, I'm sure everyone here has, I'm sorry, I didn't address you. I'm sure everyone here has seen the Facebook posts that are on Facebook. A lot of the community is in uproar about what was happening. They want their kids protected. So I just urge the council to consider appropriate measures to address the issue and reaffirm our community's commitment to decency and respect. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you. Give you a second to reset the clock. Melissa Farney, make sure you introduce yourself and where you're from, please.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Farney. I've been a resident of Swain County for the last 40 years. The opinions, perspectives expressed in this statement are solely those of the author and not necessarily reflective of any views, policies, or positions of any organization, employer, or affiliated group. It is my understanding that a member of the Stevenson City Council knowingly and willingly exposed a known private portion of their body in a public display for an undetermined length of time. This council person was approximately 657.30 feet from a Washington State certified child care facility, knowingly and willingly exposing their surgically augmented breasts to minors of tender age, adolescent minors, and the general public. I'm here now on record stating that this act has been found offensive in a manner that a reasonable person would find rude or inappropriate. City Council Rules of Procedure, Resolution 2024-426, adopted February 15th, 2024, page 22 of 33, section 16. Council representation. If a council member appears on behalf of the city before another governmental agency a community organization, or through the media for the purpose of commenting on an issue, the council member shall state the majority position of the council if known on such issues. Personal opinions and comments that differ from the council majority may be expressed if the council member clarifies that these statements do not represent the council's position. At no time or point did this council person clarify that their actions and sentiments were not a direct reflection of the Stevenson City Council. If that's the case, I would encourage all council members to rise and drop their pants and underwear so that a more accurate representation of the Stevenson City Council can be had. If you find that statement offensive, imagine how the general public felt being sexually harassed and sexually exploited against their will by a council member. At this time and on record, I would like to ask for the immediate removal of Stevenson City Council.
Thank you. Your time's up. Thanks. Pamela Seaman,
Oh, I'm sorry. Good evening, council members.
state your name and where you're from,
Pam
please.
Seaman, Carson. Let's get straight to the point. This isn't about freedom. This isn't about art. This isn't about politic statements. This is about basic respect. Respect for the office you hold and respect for the community you serve. When you're elected, you just don't represent yourself. You represent every resident, every business owner, every parent who trusts that public events will be safe, welcoming and appropriate for everyone, including children. Choosing to expose yourself publicly while holding the elected office isn't a political statement. It's a betrayal of public trust. It's self-indulged dressed up as activism. There's a growing trend where personal agendas are shoved into the public square under the excuse of free expression, while those who dare to question it are mocked as uptight or hateful. But let's be clear, expecting basic public decency is not oppression, it's common sense. Public officials are not above the community. You don't get to use your position as a stage for personal theater and then act shocked when people hold you accountable. There's a time and a place for activism. There's also a time and a place for professionalism. Being an elected leader demands you know the difference. Tonight, I'm not asking for censorship. I'm not asking for persecution. I'm asking for standards. And if maintaining a basic level of respect for the public space is now considered controversial, then the problem isn't with the community. The problem is with the leadership. Stevenson deserves better. We all deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Smith.
Alan Smith or AJ Smith, Stabler. I just want to thank Lucy for the contribution thus far to our community. I have worked in many areas with high-risk teenagers for many years, and I have supported LGBT kids for over 30 years. And I just want to make sure to say that when many times when we're robbed of our identity or existence, sometimes we feel pressure to make a statement, and I understand her position and the council, but I also understand the stress and what is unfolding for transgender people and LGBTQ community people, and how they feel like they don't have a place to feel or be safe. And I just want to tell Lucy, I acknowledge her existence and I appreciate who she is as a human being.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Liao. Smith. Say it again.
Leah?
Leo.
Okay, yeah.
Leo.
Leah Smith, I'm from Carson, Washington as well, and I was at the demonstration that we're all here so upset about. And I was pretty clear that Lucy was there for herself and not as a representation of this council. I also stand with my husband when I recognize that if this was just people who were upset and didn't like exposing of a chest, there wouldn't be death threats, there wouldn't be
public outcries for persecution. And so I think we've gone well beyond, we're just concerned citizens, and it has become a really ugly mob mentality. And I have a family full of humans that are all somewhere on the LGBTQIA2S spectrum, and they don't feel safe in this community. And that is a fact. And it is your job to make sure that they do. And if you don't like gay people and you don't like trans people, don't be gay and don't be trans. But do not take away the fundamental rights of these people just because you don't like it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Fitzgerald. Make sure you introduce yourself and where you're from.
My name's Kathleen Fitzgerald. I'm a resident of the city of Stevenson here. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak. My name, let's see, first of all, I want to thank the Skamania County Sheriff's Office for responding and filing a recommendation for charges for indecent exposure. The report written up as, was as public nuisance. I have the report, a copy of any of you, if you would like to see it, Mayor. Numerous calls and written complaints were sent into the sheriff's office. And I'm paraphrasing the report along with my own commentary about the body camera footage. Numerous calls and written complaints were sent into the sheriff's office. Deputies responded. After reviewing the body camera footage, I have determined the following, and here's the highlights and facts of the call. It was March 31st, 2025, approximately 11:44 in the morning. Deputies told Chair Lauser to cover up, or it was considered indecent exposure. Lauser argued with the deputies with the following statements. First words, "That's not true," according to being an open and obscene gesture. Lauser continued the following arguments. Nudity is a form of protest as allowed under the Constitution. Lucy had "my body is not a sin" written across their chest. The deputies continued to explain the RCWs, but Lauser interrupted them several times and demanded them to quote the RCW word for word. The deputies responded with care and compassion. When asked if Lauser understood, Lauser replied, "I don't understand why you're trying to violate the law," as deputies were trying to explain the RCWs to Chair Lauser. Lauser continued to argue, reciting word for word the RCW.
Thank you. Your time's up. Thank you. Josh Barstow.
Josh Barstow, Stevenson resident. City Council Lasser should resign from City Council and should be censored by the other members of the council. I want to clarify that this isn't about bullying Lucy for being trans. It's about expecting a basic level of judgment and conduct from our elected officials. When a sitting city council member repeatedly exposes themselves in public, including full nudity in public places like Rock Creek and Beacon Rock, it raises serious questions about their fitness for public office. Whether or not it's legal, it's clearly inappropriate behavior for someone in a leadership position. Just as troubling is the fact that Lucy has publicly admitted to engaging in prostitution and frequently posts completely nude pictures of themselves in public areas in the county. That alone would disqualify many people from holding public office. This, combined with running adult pornographic content accounts and posting nude images on public platforms like Instagram and Blue Sky, clearly demonstrates a consistent pattern of extremely poor judgment. Someone who exercises this level of poor judgment in their personal life cannot be trusted to make sound decisions on behalf of this community. City council members are responsible for a wide range of everyday issues that directly affect residents. They require clear thinking, integrity, and the ability to act in the public's best interest, not someone whose behavior would be considered irresponsible or inappropriate in virtually any other professional setting. Anyone who is this reckless and irresponsible cannot be trusted to make the right decisions on even simple matters. I want to reiterate, this is not about Lucy being trans. If a white Republican male council member posted naked photos online with captions like, "I'm a weapon of ass destruction," posted videos of themselves masturbating, and admitted to selling sex, the public outcry would be overwhelming, and I would be here saying the exact same thing. Because this transcends
Thank
party
you.
politics.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Kathleen Morrow,
Hello,
make sure you,
Kathleen Morrow, I live here in Stevenson. I wasn't actually going to talk tonight until a very unflattering photo of me looking at what looked to be Lucy on Facebook was posted, and I, you know, made it look like I was looking at her in disgust, which of course I wasn't. And I just really want to support Lucy. I think she is an asset to our community and to the council. And I think this is all much ado about nothing.
thank you. Amber Hoffman,
I'm Amber Hoffman. I live here in Stevenson, Washington. I want to speak out in support of Lucy as well. I wasn't at the protest. I also was surprised when I saw all the vitriol that was happening on Facebook and the level of cruelty, anger, animosity, and just plain meanness that was happening on there, in the guise of wanting to teach our children or protect our children. And I think what that's teaching our children is how to be intolerant. And there's a lack of trust in your own children to be able to handle that. Like, some people just live differently than you do. Somebody might be different than you, and that's okay. And I don't know when that stopped being okay. But I think that as a city, we need to have a lot more respect for our children and the ability to understand them as resilient human beings that can handle the fact that different people are different. And I do think that what this is teaching instead is that if somebody is different than you, that it is okay to go after them, to gather a group of people together, to call them rude things online, and to try and, you know, turn them over to the sheriff, get them arrested. And we're already seeing a lot of vitriol across the country. And I was hoping it wouldn't be here in Stevenson, but I think it might be. So I would like us to stop teaching intolerance to our children.
thank you. Rick,
I'd like to testify during the sewer, public comment. I think I made a note to that, so I'm gonna postpone my public comment, if that's okay.
very good. No, that's totally fine. Where's the clipboard? Do we have additional speakers? Ms. McCloskey,
Hi, I'm Tom McCloskey, a resident here in Stevenson. Sadly, unlike so many, I did not bother to spend a whole lot of time taking up a predefined statement. I'm just gonna speak from the heart. I was at the demonstration. I saw Lucy. Didn't seem to be a big deal to me, but it was clearly a political situation. I saw the police officers there. We were just walking by. It was clear to me that this was a political demonstration. It seems to me a First Amendment right. I don't see the issue here, but I have a couple of things to say. One, I think this is clearly a First Amendment issue. Lucy was at a political demonstration. She did something that she clearly felt was in support of that demonstration. I want to make sure that we as a community, and I mean all of us, don't spend a hell of a lot of money, because if we start legal action against Lucy, we're all gonna spend a lot of money supporting something that's just basically an agenda from the sort of Puritan minority here in town that I don't really want to support. So from my perspective, it's pretty clear to me what's required of our council is to support the best interest of all of our community, and that includes spending our money in a reasonable way. And I don't think spending money on this is a reasonable way to spend the council's time or money. And honestly, I also feel like it's buying into a really negative attitude, both in our country and in our society. I don't want anything to do with that, and I don't want you people, as our representatives, to have anything to do with it.
Thank you. Christy Holbrook?
I was talking about the Airbnb thing, that seems like. We're currently discussing,
Public comment. So we don't currently have it on the agenda. So if you would like to address city council, this is your opportunity.
I work for an Airbnb, I clean, and I think that it's a source of income for a lot of people in the community. I know families who stay with their parents and during the summer and Airbnb their houses. And I think that it's not the place of the county to tell them whether they can Airbnb their residents. And it's like their job, so I need to keep that.
Thank you.
It's hard to have a job.
It is.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have on the list. If there's somebody else that would like it.
Ryan asked
okay.
if he could possibly.
Sure. State your name and where you're from, please.
Brian Stevenson. So this topic we're talking about, exposing, for me, it's, for children. Children are innocent. They've not been exposed to certain things. And it's not anybody else's job to expose a child to something that they are, not aware of. It's, that's the parent's job. If the kids have a question one day, they can ask, hey, what is this, right? For me, that's a big no when it comes from, your leadership here. I work with you guys a lot and, respect you guys. And, I just, for me, that kind of behavior, I don't believe is acceptable in a community. And, there, this wouldn't even be a question, years ago. And I don't know why we're here, but nobody has the right to educate my child in sexuality or any of those sorts without my consent. And so, yeah, I think we should really take a look at that.
Thank you. Okay, we're approaching the end of our public comment period. Is there anybody else that would like to address city council?
Me.
We'll start right up here in the front. Karen?
Karen, actually, I live here in Stevenson. Human bodies are not inherently evil. There's nothing wrong with a naked human body. What's wrong is what you think about it. And if you have a problem, walk away. But human bodies have been exposed in great works of art for years. They have not been inherently thought of as something that is wrong or evil. I don't care whether it's Lucy's body or your body or my body. There's nothing wrong with it. And it is not a sin. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Did I hear someone else that wanted to?
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay.
Bodies are beautiful.
Make sure that you identify yourself and where you're from, please.
Okay. I live in Stevenson. Bodies are beautiful. They shouldn't be used as sexuality except with your partner or somebody. You shouldn't take it out on the street. You should enjoy. We use our bodies for our children. We use our bodies as God created them, for God's sakes. What's wrong with our bodies? And everybody's teaching them. Everybody's teaching them that's all about sexuality. It is not.
Thank you. All right, we have time for one more. Here in the back.
My name's Parker. I'm from White Salmon. I'm trans. My pronouns are they, them. I would like the council to consider that Lucy's actions were political. on a trans visibility day, I'm fairly certain. Why might have Lucy done this? I don't know. I don't know Lucy personally. I'm not talked to Lucy, but I can venture to say there's a reason trans people aren't being treated well and why you might go protest as a trans person in a very trans way. I think that maybe we need to be curious as to why Lucy did this, what is happening in our community, what is happening in our country to trans people, before we start talking about all these other things. I think we're trying to distract from the issue. There are people telling the council it's not a trans issue, but it is absolutely a trans issue. It was done in a trans protest on a trans day of visibility. And so I'd like our focus to be more on what can our community as a gorge in a larger sense too, do to support trans people, to help trans rights, to help trans people thrive in our community. And not distract by, is this a First Amendment or not? It is a First Amendment right. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion of our meeting. If you'd like an opportunity, if you want to stick around for the meeting, feel free, but we do have to get on with the business at hand. So if you'd like to take an opportunity to file out, we'll give you a couple seconds.
I prepared a statement.
No, can't do it.
I've been saving upwards for 16 months. I think you can listen to me for a few minutes.
Lucy.
I think you can listen to the tranny for a few minutes.
Robert?
Not a dialogue moment.
I'm not, I wrote this
She's
before.
a council member, Liz.
I wrote this before I came.
2 minutes.
I think you can give me a little more than 2 minutes. Just a little.
We only got.
I'll be fast.
Everybody got only.
Yeah, we only got 2
Lucy.
minutes.
Thank you for coming to the second act of my ongoing protest. I've gathered you here today because I have something to say about Liberty, who has often been depicted with exposed breasts, such as on the 1916 Standing Liberty Quarter. I think it's sad that the gorgeous initial design of this coin was vandalized by a nation obsessed with sexualizing and controlling women's bodies. During a speech at CPAC a few years ago, conservative media person Michael Knowles said, "For the good of society, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely." He was met with enthusiastic applause. This is now the official policy of the federal government. If you think my satirical rhetoric is extremist, I have bad news for you about the political party I borrowed it from. Starting on his first day in office, President Trump issued a series of executive orders declaring that I am a man and also dishonorable, anti-American, a threat to society, unworthy of service to my country, and on and on. A judge described one of the orders as dripping with animus. The president has also threatened to withhold congressionally approved federal funds from state governments, school districts, hospitals, and other entities as retaliation if they refuse to cut trans people off from equal participation in society. He has actually followed through on these threats, which is a crime, and also endangers the well-being of your community. The president's policies have already caused the death of someone I knew who was a veteran. His actions show a clear pattern of intent to bully Americans into sacrificing all of our freedom and some of our neighbors' lives in exchange for the basic capacity to function as a society which he is holding hostage. Who will he ask you to sacrifice next? Will it be yourself? Authoritarians want you to be so dependent on them and so afraid of the consequences of talking back that you will stand by and do nothing as certain people are systematically eradicated. But I do believe the power of the people is greater than the people in power, and the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. I deleted my original Facebook account on New Year's Day. I have no ability to post or comment in the unmoderated group where everyone has been gossiping about me, diagnosing me with fake disorders, talking about my genitals, and sharing my nudes. But I'm aware of it all. I'm also aware of the blatant lies, fake quotes, and AI-generated content being spread by a conspiracy theorist who started their harassment campaign.
That is enough from all of you. Thank you very much for your concern. I know what the order is.
Everybody else off at 2 minutes.
I'm not going to waste your
Council members
time.
aren't subject to public comment rules, all right? So she needs to finish.
I'm not going to waste your time litigating every detail of maliciously fabricated narrative about me. All that drama isn't really about me. I just
Lucy.
brought it out into the light.
Lucy,
It's about you, your
Lucy,
obsession with
I'm outta
my
here.
body. The
Lucy,
perverted
please
sickness you
stop.
allow to fester in your society and your need for a scapegoat projected onto
Lucy, you're
this.
not talking.
I had several reasons for my protest on March 31st, which is Transgender Day of Visibility. I wanted to illustrate for my community the true extent of the threats and abuse that are directed at any trans.
Lucy,
public
please
visibility.
refrain.
I wanted to call out the discriminatory
This
double
is not-
standard whereby I am sexually harassed, violently threatened, stalked, defamed, and
Robert,
even
what do we
criminalized
do?
for something that men do freely with zero consequence. And since the federal government has actually declared that I am a man and politicized my body and threatened to cut me off from the healthcare I need to survive,
Lucy,
I felt it was
you got
necessary
like
to
10 seconds,
escalate
or I'm
my
gonna have to
protest
ask you to
while I am
leave.
still alive. If you're telling me there's a better way to protest eradication that wouldn't be so disruptive,
Robert,
you have
are we
missed
ready
the
to do
point
this?
entirely.
Lucy,
We're done. Move on to the regular business.
please. That was so disruptive.
Exactly.
Hey, Dave.
All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. This is, if you do not wish to stick for the rest of the meeting, this is the perfect time to file out. Thank you. Call the meeting back to order. like to note, for the minutes that, Councilmember Cox has left the meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. To approve consent agenda items A through C.
Need a second?
I'd like to have an item taken off the consent agenda.
Which one?
A. Only because I have a question about it.
All right,
I will amend my motion to approve consent agenda items B through C.
Second.
all right, we have a motion to approve items B through C. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's move right on. What is your question on the personnel policy?
Just one single item on the page 109 of the policy or page 122 of the packet with regard to City of Stevenson person, wastewater treatment plant operator number 1. Said preferred qualifications, commercial driver's license. But under the section indicating possession or ability to acquire within 18-24 months, there's no mention of whether having a commercial driver's license is ultimately a function of that particular job responsibility.
That's, that is intentional. The job of the wastewater treatment plant is not necessarily to drive the heavy, like the heavier equipment, like the back truck. But, it is certainly a benefit if they can.
They can assist another.
Yeah. Like the assist.
Okay, so it's not required as
No,
that
and it's very expensive to get someone's CDL. That's why we pulled it out. However, we'll still take it if you got it already. That.
Okay, so with that information, I'll make a motion to accept resolution.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks though.
for the personnel policy.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sheriff's report.
Good evening, council. You can supply documents for the last quarter. That shows the statistics of services provided for the city of Stevens as well as the trainings that's been taken during that time frame. Do you have any questions that are related to those documents?
No.
Make it too easy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to your boss on Saturday.
All right, next up, we have a public hearing regarding it's just a public hearing at this point for the sewer ordinance. I'd like to open the public hearing at 6:41. Staff report, please.
We'll go ahead and give that just a kind of brief summary to remind everyone of where we've been and where we're at now. So June of 23, the city worked at the request of council to modify the sewer ordinance that's in place now, 1970s version, which is outdated and somewhat restrictive and challenging to enforce. So August 23, the city staff provided a draft ordinance, received feedback from the community, and as a result, the sewer ordinance committee was formed. So sewer ordinance committee worked from September 23 to May 24, consulting with community members, business owners, folks on septic, folks on sewer. And in September of 24, about a year later, settled on provided a version to council that they were comfortable releasing as a draft for the public comment. This draft for public comment has been provided to the public, and that would be the comments that we're looking for today. Want to highlight some of the changes between the current ordinance and the proposed ordinance. There's kind of a big three, so everyone recalls. Current ordinance has a 300-foot from public sewer availability kind of definition that requires connection if you're within 300 feet of a public sewer. The community, the committee, the council, city staff all agree that extension of public sewer shouldn't be on, a single family resident, or a minor. Just a smaller lot division, so the definition of available is being proposed as, if it's in the right, within the right of way, like in front of your property, at that point, you'd be asked to connect, so that is more in, that is good, or, I mean, I think you're all good changes, but, so that's one change. Another change would be the current ordinance, doesn't offer any sort of, financial assistance to people who are, connecting to sewer, so, if you're required to connect, if, the sewer system extends in front of within 200 feet of your septic system, you're required to connect and pay all of the SDCs for the system development charges for that. Ranges from $7,000 to $12,000. So some financial assistance in this current ordinance that, or in the proposed ordinance that was not in the current ordinance. And lastly, the proposed ordinance, has a, basically a fee or a penalty for folks who, no one's gonna require you to connect, no one's gonna drive a backhoe onto your property, and connect your home, but, there would be a penalty that would be assessed, for, folks that don't connect, but still have sewer available under the definition available. Since the draft was released, city staff held a public workshop. A number of the documents are here posted. I wanted to kind of try to run through them just briefly. We provided a map that shows all the parcels within the city. Shows folks or parcels that are on city sewer, on septic, and then those that are vacant. It also shows all the sewer system, so we were able to communicate with the property owners that came down to the workshop about where are you, where's your property in relation to sewer now? Help them better understand how they might be impacted. Another couple pieces of information that were provided and want to make sure everyone are clear on was, again, that definition of availability. So if sewer is in front of your house, the requirement to connect. If it's not in front of your house, you would be able to put in a septic system for a single family residence, maintain, expand with your current septic system. Those that would be required to extend public sewer would be larger subdivisions, 3 or more, multifamily, so apartments, and then commercial, industrial would still be required to extend sewer. So that is the one. One of the other things that we drafted up was this connection timeline to kind of demonstrate how long it takes to actually get a project from the idea phase all the way to the construction and where you get your notification of availability. So our projects kind of start and they're part of the capital improvement plan, capital facilities plan. There's a public comment period for that. Where public kind of should know that projects are proposed in their neighborhood. That can take about a year, funding takes about a year, design takes about a year, construction takes about a year, so it's 4 years roughly from like the idea phase to the construction phase. In the design phase, project management would reach out to everyone within that extension, kind of the extension area and say that public sewer is extending, where do you want your clean out? So that it can be positioned in the way that makes the most sense for the parcel owner, whether they have an existing building or they have one that they want to build in the future. So they would get that project notification, and design would then continue, construction would be a year, and then they would get a notification of availability. So at that point, it would be a letter that says, construction is done, clean out's ready for you. You have the option to connect, and those that connect within 90 days, the proposed ordinance says that we waive the, or the system development charge, they would be subject to that. For low and moderate income residences, that would be 3 years. So low to moderate resident income would have 3 years to connect and have that system development charge waived. Those that wouldn't, don't connect within 90 days, but would be connecting and committing to connect within 3 years, could defer their system development charge. So instead of paying that $7,000 to $12,000 at the time of connection, they could defer that to when the home is transferred or sold. And, supposedly you have the income at that point to be able to pay that fee. And the third financial assistance that's provided would be a break on the penalty. So if you are able, or if you intend to connect within the 3 years, you could also get a break on the penalty. So up to half of the penalty would be not assessed to you monthly to provide an opportunity for savings for the construction of that connection. Obviously, this is a city project, so really have 7 years from the time that we first start thinking about, or someone first comes up with an idea to extend sewer in front of a property to when you need to be connected. So it's a fairly long time. Developers are different though. Still, developers work on their own timeline. So if there's a large piece of property in a subdivision they were extending sewer past a property, that could shorten substantially. So they can get that stuff turned around more in a year. So it's more like a 4-year timeline for them. They don't have to go for funding, and they can do design in faster than a year, and they don't have the capital improvement stuff. So that is kind of roughly where we're at. So now we are at this public hearing phase. We want to get comments. I know one of the comments people have, and it will be something that council will want to think a lot about, is the historic communication that current septic system properties have had from city staff, alluding to, or even outright committing or promising that they wouldn't need to connect even though there's a line in front of their house. So that will be something that will be important to kind of think about how council would want to address that as part of this, as part of ordinance or as part of the appeal process, because there is an appeal process for all of this in most ordinances and regulations. So I think that's all I have. Hopefully that kind of helped bring everyone up to current speed on things, but did you have anything else you wanted to add at this point?
No.
Okay.
All right, that is thank you very much. That was our staff report. This is the opportunity for the public to put forward their comments on this matter. So if you would like 3 minutes to state your comment on this plan.
We're done.
We're done.
Would anybody like to submit public comment on this ordinance? Rick, make sure you state your name.
Rick Jessel, Stevenson, Washington. I'd like to say I strongly support the Table 9 recommendations that the sewer committee worked on, city staff worked on. And I think it addresses a problem that has no good solution. Everybody's going to pay in one way or another. And it's just very difficult to make everyone whole on this. Everyone's going to pay in some sort of way. I think that the ordinance is as fair as the sewer committee and facilitator and city staff could make it. I think that there is an appeal process for people that that they are not being fairly addressed. So that's one way to handle some of this. The other thing is, I have a problem with sections B and F of the ordinance and on the policy and procedures on the first page. I think it's predicting the unpredictable, and the future of the city here is going to evolve gradually over a period of time. And I think the statements made in E and F are not guaranteed statements. They're more a prediction and an opinion and perhaps speculation. So I really have a problem with section Z and F. I don't think it does justice.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, the council, my name is Jeff Breckle. I'm here in Stevenson, and I'm here representing the planning commission. Meeting earlier this week, we had a presentation by staff on the ordinance. Wasn't a detailed exam of the ordinance, but there was a general feeling among the members of the planning commission that this was a real positive step forward in terms of an ordinance. We recognize that as it goes through the public hearing process, there may be adjustments or modifications that need to be made. But it provides us, from the planning commission, a much better way to be able to look at how we weigh certain development proposals, how we look at land use patterns, how we try to understand how our infrastructure is going to support what we've laid out in the comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance, and how we can go ahead with one of the requests that we got from council in terms of looking at an annexation policy. When we started looking at an annexation policy, we found ourselves in a situation where we can have good answers in terms of what was going to happen for the public infrastructure inside the city limits that wasn't yet served by water or sewer. So it was pretty tough to come up with a policy for those folks that wanted to annex in. So we felt, again, this was a very positive step forward. We think it is consistent in principle with the committee, and the staff has done a good job in terms of bringing that to you. And so we're anxious to see you move this through that public process, to take that public input. And if there's modifications that need to be made or adjustments that need to be made, that we'll do that, and we can move ahead with something that will really help us take on a difficult problem. I think we all recognize it's.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mary?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I think this is a really good step forward. And as I pay my $188 bill and I feel my pain, I would like to share it. Yeah, every time I write that check, it's like, oh. But the other evening, I spoke on this, and I'll just put it in the record. Our septic systems, as this map shows over here, the sewer system was kind of a hodgepodge. And I think we need to fill in that hodgepodge with sewer. And so that our projects going forward should try to kind of fill this whole map with green instead of the blue here and there and everywhere. I'm not sure how it came to be that it was such a hodgepodge. So if that could be done in coordination with street projects, so they're deconflicting, and we do a number of things when we're breaking up the streets, so we don't have to go back and dig them up again. That would be really, really great. And financially, yes, it's really expensive. We had to put in a septic system on our farm $40,000 later. It was $40,000 later, and they're very expensive. So we need to make sure that the septic fields that are in our area, and I know some of them are more than 50 years old. I know that for a fact. So we need to figure out which ones are still working and which ones are not working. And then maybe those that aren't working in a certain area, that can be where the sewer projects go first. I don't know, but it's going to be, probably more than 10 years, and I probably won't be here when everything's done, but it's, it's a start. Thank you very much and good luck to you.
Whoa, look at you.
So good.
Hey,
Practice makes.
Anybody else?
perfect,
He's been
right?
doing this a while.
anybody else?
She feels, do that.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to close the public hearing at 6:58.
No.
Oh, wait, there was one more, Mayor, sorry.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm Tina Weaver. I live in Stevenson.
Okay.
I am affected by this. Is it only 2 minutes?
3 minutes, you get 3 minutes.
Three?
Oh, I got it done.
So, I had a couple of questions. Can I ask a question?
No, it's just
No
comments.
questions
It's just
to
comments at
understand
this time.
something
It's
on
just
it?
comments at this time.
All right, comments. Number one, I do not know funding as like you guys do, and I wonder if you have to pay it back, why do I have to pay it back? I mean, if you don't have to pay it back, why would I have to pay it back? But I don't know the questions, the answer to that, so, but that would be one of my things. But number two, and I appreciate the fact that you're trying to get funding. Don't take me wrong there. I think that will help a lot of people. But for those of us that are on septic, and I am, I was not here in 73 when they voted on this. I wasn't old enough to vote on putting in everybody that gets around septic has or sewer has to put on. And I have a perfectly working septic, and I don't see. And when we put our property in and we did the septic, there was no sewer anywhere close. And having to take and abandon a perfectly working septic to go on to sewer does not seem like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem fair. So, and there's a lot of people I think that are gonna feel that way. And I understand if you said, hey, if your septic fails and you're gonna have to put in a new one, instead of going on it, you have to go on to sewer. I'm okay with that. If my septic, it's gonna cost a whole lot of money either way then. Doesn't matter. But I think that we should still have an option because the rules were half-acre buildable to be able to even build, and you had to put in a septic. I've almost 4 acres. And I'm gonna have to go on to sewer just because I'm close enough. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right that I should have to abandon a perfectly working septic and do that. That is my opinion.
So while we, this is the public comment period, I don't want to discourage you from asking your questions. Please come back into City Hall and, someone who will be able to help you will answer those questions so that we can hopefully allay some of your fears. So it's
Well,
just,
it's not fear.
well,
I'm just
concern.
going, hey, I mean, if you're gonna put a lien on my property that if I sell it, then I have to pay you that 12,000 back, and I don't even know if you had to pay that back. Why should I have to?
Okay, so, but again, if you had questions,
I can ask those questions.
I have to
later.
discourage the questions at this portion of the
That's
meeting,
fine.
but if we would love to be able to answer your questions at here at City Hall.
That is fine. I can do it. So you just come in, what, other time or after the meeting or?
What?
If you stay for the meeting, we can talk after.
Okay,
And if not, you can always call.
okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, hey Scott.
Hey.
Hey Robert. I don't think I know anybody else. My name's Simon. I've lived here for about 12 years. And I'm on a septic as well. So when I first read about this, I was really upset. I still am. Maybe an idea I would propose is people that are just moving here or just building, maybe have them mandate them to hook up to sewer, but there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with my septic system. What good does it do for me? Why do I have to, put out all this money for something I'm not gonna use and then something I have to continue to pay for? It doesn't make any sense to me. So there's a lot of people that feel the same way that I do and this woman here. There's a lot of smart people in here. I'm sure there can be, we work together, we can propose something that's a little bit more, that makes more sense. I don't want to pay for the sewer system. I don't use it. So, and I don't want to continue to pay for it. I have a septic. We put a septic in and it works great for us and it's going to continue to work great for us. Maybe have new people that, are just buying their home, just buying their home or building their house, that makes sense. But to make all of us people that have paid money to put a system in place, you know, it doesn't make sense to not use it. What's next? You guys gonna come and tell me that I gotta cut my orchard down and, hey, you gotta go shop at A&J and buy all your fruit and vegetables from there? You know, this is America, it's free. You know, we're free, and tell me I have to pay for something that I don't need, just doesn't make sense. So that's all I wanna say.
Thank you.
Hey, Simon, David didn't put us, he didn't, Simon, when David built that house, he didn't connect it to the side of the sewer? He gave you a septic in there?
Nope, septic, works
Yeah.
great.
Didn't I
Septic
know
guy
that?
comes, he goes, oh my God, you have the nicest septic I've ever seen.
I
I said,
didn't-
it's probably because my wife won't let me use bleach.
Well,
I've never seen her white anything, it's just black.
Anybody else?
I'll come see.
All right.
Anybody else?
I'd like to speak.
Please come up, introduce yourself and where you're from.
My name is Scott Robinson. I live in Stevenson. I have a home that's 25 years old and it has a septic system. I presume it's going to last for another 25 years, maybe not. But I probably won't be around in 25 years if it does last that long. And as long as it's functioning. And what I learned yesterday, in case somebody thought maybe it's not functioning correctly, is that the state of Washington will be requiring that every 3 years, septic systems need to be inspected. So you would know as a city, I presume, whether or not those septic systems are functioning properly. So if they are working fine, like sewer systems are working fine, what's the problem? Why do we need to change what we have if in fact the system is working? Sure, if you want new projects to have sewers, fine. But for those of us who have properties and paid, and I have a mortgage and a lot of other people too, so I have big expenses as well. But now you're gonna want to charge me to hook up to the system and to pay an exorbitant amount of money to use the system each month, when I am doing what I need to, and so many people, others are too, to make sure that we protect our environment just as well as the sewer. And I'd like to see that continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Like to close the public hearing at 7:06. Council? Thoughts, comments? Again, this is public hearing.
Comments?
Comments, yeah, we're not making a motion tonight.
This is discussion then about it.
Yep.
I was on the committee that sat down and did put together some of the revisions and some of this discussion that we're having some objections to tonight. And I'm not sure whether I have an answer that's going to make everybody happy. But I can kind of give you a little bit of an explanation of the thinking that our committee had in putting these things together. The first part, if you look at the RCW 35.67.190, there is already language in our state codes that provides all property owners within the area served by such sewer systems shall be compelled to connect to their private drains and sewers with such city or town system under such penalty as a legislative body of such city or town may by ordinance direct. Such penalty may, in the discretion of such legislative body, be an amount equal to the charge that would be made for sewer service if the property was connected to such a system. All penalties collected shall be considered revenue of that system. We were faced originally with the question, we had a lot of property owners here in town that had real estate that they were telling us was basically worthless because it didn't have a sewer access to it. And so if they wanted to sell the property, they would have to run their own lines out to wherever the existing sewer service was. And in essence, their properties, they couldn't develop them. So we realized that was not tenable and decided that we could allow new construction to put in a septic system if sewer was not available to that property. thereby making that property valuable to anybody that wanted to develop it or sell it to somebody else. In exchange for that, we also said not a 300-foot regulation was not appropriate, that people would have to pay to extend lines 300 feet or more to connect to sewer. So we put the language in place that availability meant that the sewer line had to be adjacent to the property. We've made some provisions for ways people to do that, but we've also said that if you do not connect to it, you can continue to use your existing septic system, but you will pay a penalty for not connecting that is commensurate with the amount of money that people are paying for that sewer system now. Now, you think, well, why would I want to pay for an additional system that I'm not using? And I guess the only logical explanation, I give you two on that, is one, you have to pay for streets that you don't drive on every day. The sewer is a public utility like water, like electricity. And whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the goal ultimately is to get everybody connected to the sewer system. And the only way we're going to be currently, the only people that are paying for that system are the people that are on it. Imagine if you use your septic system for the next 20 years and then decide at that point you want to connect to the sewer system, you will not have paid anything for that sewer system for the last 20 years. So.
That doesn't make sense. How do you
Good,
compare-
no more comment, sir, carry on.
Okay, so that, like I say, that's just a means of explanation of what the logic was being used by the committee that put this together. I hope that there's a shared sense of community and a shared sense of public utilities. And we could take the proceeds from these penalties and put it toward running extensions on the sewer lines. The other thing that I would encourage the city to do would be to on an individual basis, work with our city residents to make this a more tenable connection. I know that one property owner that talked to me the other night last week said that the line was actually adjacent to their property, but their house was 300 feet up a hill. So they were still going to have to run a line up there. My comment to them was, well, you know, you have the two choices of either paying the $145 a month as a penalty, or maybe you can work with city contractors to help, you know, use a backhoe to go in there to dig the line. I don't know, but we're more than willing to work with people on an individual basis to try to make this feasible. But don't misunderstand the intent. The intent is to eventually, at some point in time, get everybody on this system.
Yeah. In response to some of the things that Chuck said, as I recall, people that own property up until the time the city put on a moratorium last year, or just the fall of the previous year, septic systems were allowed. So the committee, and then there was public outcry and the committee was formed. So, and then the city, because of that outcry, or the council lifted that moratorium. So people historically always could put a septic system on their property, except for that brief period, there was a moratorium. So it's not like the committee was doing anybody any favors by saying, well, we're doing.
That's not how the ordinance reads. No.
So you're saying that you're saying, why did we do the moratorium then?
The way the current ordinance reads is what we can tell you about.
Okay,
The current
but
ordinance.
the moratorium was put on for what reason?
The moratorium was put on with a potential change coming. And
So, but it was to stop people from doing something, right?
if what they were doing was gonna be out of line with the change that the council would make.
Okay, so that moratorium took away.
If your
people's
comments on
rights.
moratorium continue on, but the way that the
Okay.
ordinance worked wasn't that you could just put a septic in anywhere.
Right, I know, but that moratorium stopped people from developing their property the way they previously could. So I just wanted to make that clear, and then that was listed, that was lifted. in terms of the, people being mandated to pay, to hook up to electricity and stuff, they're not. If one wants to be off-grid with PUD, as community county PUD, there's no compulsory thing that you have to hook up to electricity. If somebody uses, doesn't want to use the roads and drive, they pay a lot less because they don't pay the gas tax, which is a huge amount for the road.
They're required to drink water.
Pardon me?
They can't have a well in city limits.
Well, that brings up another portion of this that concerns me. We had a meeting on February 22nd last year where a workshop, a council workshop. And what we talked about was that we would not duplicate when it came to septic systems. We would not duplicate what this community county health department is already doing. And so we would not get into the septic tank business. And so a lot of this ordinance monitors septic systems that the county already does. So you could take away about half of this. In other words, we should stay out of the septic tank business is what I think. Also, when it came to the penalty, if you remember, we had a legal issue, so we had to go the penalty route, which was just a tax. Basically, what this boils down to, and it's good, we need money. So this boils down to, it isn't a health need that's prompting this. We just need, we want money from people. So that's the impetus behind this whole effort here. It's not because of, when I asked the city if there are any health issues related to septic systems, there was no evidence of any of that was presented. They said, I was told to we'll go talk to this community accountant. We don't know about that. So let's just be frank about this. We just need the money. So, and when it comes to just needing the money, so it's a tax. So now let's say the penalty, so we had to use the word penalty because that was what the law allowed after Mr. Moose researching everything. For that tax is called the penalty. Well, I could see a penalty or a tax of because of the shared values that you speak of, Chuck, of a smaller amount, $20 or $30. But to somebody with a perfectly good working system to have it, and I'll just make a couple more comments, and I'll be quiet. $20 or $30 is something for shared value. I could see that, but charging $140 and then they still maintain their system, I think is excessive, and I would not favor that. And the last comment I'll make is that the 3 month, we give 3 months to hook up. Well, we saw how long it takes for the city to plan a sewer line or one of their projects. It takes years, up to 4 years. But yet, if we run that sewer line through there, then we're saying you have 3 months. I like the term 3 years better. If we have that be 3 years instead of 3 months to hook up. And then only if your system is failing. In other words, I think for a long time, we're not going to be able to extend those lines anyway. So we're stuck with a hybrid system for a long, long time. So I think we can develop something a lot more fair to our residents and allow people to use their septic systems without being so draconian. Anyway, those are my comments. And then I have others I can make them later though, so that I'm not hogging everybody else's time.
Isn't it already a 3-year period?
It was a 3 month period.
3 months to make a decision.
Yeah, I think that's not enough time. I think it should be 3 years.
It's 4 years.
You're talking about that. I was talking about the 3 month requirement in the ordinance for people to decide.
But you have a lot longer than 3 months.
You're
Unless
saying
it's a
anything
developer
about it.
project.
Well, you heard what I think.
Thank you. Michael.
I was also on the committee for this, and some of the people who were pro and were in favor, and those opposed, it was interesting. Because some of the people who helped kind of craft the direction this was going were people who were on septic and right now, and saw the need for a change in the way that we did this for the community and for the greater good. I also was at the meeting where this was presented, and I spoke to people who had valid concerns and were wanted to talk about their individual circumstances. And I know that there are provisions in this as well for an appeal process if somebody is not feeling like their voice is being heard, or they don't agree with the end result of what this is. So I mean, I generally, like I said, I go through it, and I mean, and I make comments as the drafts come along. And I talk to the staff and I talk to people who are, again, for and against, because I have people that I grew up with and friends and community members that came into this meeting, the first meeting, pretty fired up and pretty upset, and I can understand the reasoning behind it. And so I think this is not, we're not done. We are working our way through it, and we're getting trying to take everyone into account and trying to take everyone's view into it. So yeah, I don't have anything. I'm not going to pick apart the yeah, you're right. Provision E and provision F, like, okay, we just need to look at verbiage, look at the way it's working, whatever. But I don't, anyway, I was part of making this in the original form. It's changed some since then. But it still stands, that we need to make a change. We need to have something that is as fair as we can make it for all involved. So that's my comments.
Let's be clear about why we need sewer money. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was high impact commercial users that caused the issue that required the wastewater treatment plant rebuild.
The overall amount of waste. And so the commercial growth from restaurants, other commercial users, the residential growth, the waste we were getting from the significant industrial users exceeded our plant's capacity to treat all the waste.
And we got a report that based on impact to the infrastructure, residential users are paying more for it compared to their impact, and commercial users, we need to see about a 200% increase to actually match. So yeah, that's why we need money, because we don't want to charge commercial users more based on their impact on that system.
Yes.
I just had one other thought, and I've actually sent copies of this to both Ben and Carolyn, but I don't know if regarding sections E and F, and it's mostly the language. The general feeling was that a lot of it was subjective, not necessarily definitive type conclusions, highly prejudicial language. So I kind of reshopped it. I said, would it be appropriate to give people a copy, or give council a copy?
Sure.
And I don't know how much of a public discussion there needs to be on this.
Can I-
Go ahead.
Well, one option for ENS, just take those sections out. I mean, are they even necessary?
Well, I know that Ben had expressed a need to put it in there as a potential outcome that the city was aware of.
I mean, they don't really, it's just opinions and stuff, but it's not necessary, it's not specific to anything that a citizen is required to do. So why even have it in there? Already 47 pages, just a thought.
Just a thought, good.
Just a thought.
So I wanted to synthesize some of the things that we were hearing for public comments or in past the council as far as changes coming into the next draft. We saw written comments and heard concerns about that 90-day period and the ability for somebody to get a contractor and permits and connect within that 90-day period. And I think that it might be more appropriate to extend that to 180 days or something longer, so that we don't run into that scenario where somebody else has prevented their connection within that time frame. And then also considering that 3-year period, extending that to 5 years, so that somebody has more time to amortize off the existing investment they have in a septic system, and more time to accumulate the benefits of not paying that higher penalty during that time. So looking at 2 changes there. The other change that we think is important is to address that stakeholder group where the public sewer system is currently available, but they haven't ever gotten the letter compelling them to connect. And so right now they're subject to that same 90-day and 3-year timeline. But maybe having a new section in there that addresses those, where public sewer is currently available, they have a different timeline, because as we're presenting this here, new project, new extension that the city runs, there's 7 years between when you would be expected to have shovels in the ground and everything buttoned back up. Those existing owners don't get anything close to that 7-year timeline. So having something that's identified specifically for those and bringing that into the ordinance, we think is appropriate. I'd like to bring that into the next draft. Before we go into that next draft, want you all as a council to weigh in on those two things, that connection requirement and the penalty for failure to connect. That's what we heard as the biggest public concern here. And so this is that checkpoint to see if you want that in the next draft as it moves forward, or if we remove that from the next draft, what you're thinking. It is something, as Chuck noted that this issue came up and there was public concern. And you responded to that public concern by creating a committee. The committee reviewed everything. It reviewed the existing system, the needs, the financial impact there, and they provided recommendations to you. So you are not beholden to the recommendations of any one, but your own conscience in this. But they did a lot of heavy lifting for you, and so you can rely on their conclusions if you choose to.
Can I ask a question, Ben? How many people are affected that are on septic right now, if you know, that could, along existing lines, to where theoretically they could get the letter saying, hey, the infamous letter? Do you know how many?
Yeah, 25 to 30.
Okay, so 25 to 30.
There's a different subset. There's 2 subsets of those, maybe 3 subsets. So one is that existing line was there. They came to a past city council on appeal and were granted relief on that appeal. There's not a database that tells us that. So we'd have to review all the city council minutes to know which properties that applies to. There's no database for that, so we don't know which those are. There's a subset like the public comments you received from Mr. and Mrs. Wertheimer, who were told by city staff that they didn't have to connect. City staff doesn't have the authority to tell them that. Only city council has the authority to tell them that. And so there's a conversation that needs to happen related to that with that subset. And then there's the subset that just was never informed that they had to connect, had no idea that public sewer was available, and that it would come as a surprise. So where everyone else is getting a longer run up, where it's not surprising, where there's a backhoe on the ground, where the street is closed, where they know that something is coming, these property owners just didn't know, and it would come as a surprise to them. So we know that there are 25 to 30 of them because we're making specific efforts to reach out to them. But also I think it's appropriate to have different timelines for them too.
So where are we looking for talking points or bullet points
If you
to?
disagree with modification of the timeline or addressing that subset of stakeholders where it's available, tell us to disagree. And if you want to modify the current approach of requiring to connect when it's available, want to modify that. The fact that there would be a penalty for failure to connect, we should know that now before we even enter the next meeting. To address what you said, Pat, the way the ordinance read, it says that the city council sets the penalty amount, and that it could be the same as the monthly bill for sewer. That decision hasn't been made by you all yet. You haven't been presented with that yet.
I know, but it's in the ordinance. If we were to pass this ordinance, not to be argumentative, but I'd like to see the ordinance specify that instead of, then we do that as a second step, I guess is what I'm saying. That it'd be a more amount that, you know, there is a solution to this. And I have one more question, then I have kind of an idea on a way forward, if you would agree. But I have one question of staff, and that's the wording of section 1308.76, failure to connect. And section B says on that section, if the lot owner fails to extend and connect to the public.
Pat, I'm sorry, could you tell me the section you were?
Which section?
13.08076, where it says failure to connect to penalty. Okay. And there's, and there's a section there that says if the lot owner fails to extend and connect to the public sewer system pursuant to, and some code there, the city may withhold development permits and certificates of occupancy. And the way I was reading that, and that section B puts, that it puts a burden of extending main sewer lines on the property owner. Like if there's not a sewer line to that property owner, this would apply. Now, do I have that wrong? So in other words, if they want the sewer to their property, they have to extend it, or the city has the authority to withhold development permits and certificates of occupancy. Am I reading that right? Because if I am, then that seems.
The types of development that are required to extend and connect to public sewer are commercial or industrial, multifamily, or land division resulting in 3 lots or more. And so if they are required to extend and do not extend, then you could withhold the permits or COs.
So the 3, okay, I just think, yeah, and I know we discussed this at one point, I just think that's could be a big step if we want infill of housing. If somebody's just gonna do a modest thing like 3 houses or 3 apartments or something, and then they'd have to extend, you might not promote development because of that, but the idea I had, what if we have a new city manager coming on in just a few weeks? And I know we have one more meeting like this, public hearing on it. What to help us get better educated on this, to help inform the public better, and to help the new city manager get up to speed on this issue, because will be a participant. Why don't we do a workshop on this next month and have that be part of the process where because this is 47 pages and it's a little bit hard, especially tonight's meeting we had distractions and stuff. So it's not like we're all at the top of our game, and we are missing one council member here. Why don't we have 47 pages to go through? Why don't we have a workshop just on it? And I know that there's kind of a rush to get this through, but look how long we spent already on this whole process. So a couple more weeks isn't going to make a difference, even a month. And then we workshop this as a council to where we can go through this in more detail, these 47 pages, and come up with ideas. And we do that before the second hearing. We could invite the public to just watch that workshop. And that would also bring our new city manager up to speed, because he would be involved. And it just might be a good idea to have, that's what I just throw that out as an idea. Because I know we're probably gonna wrap this discussion up pretty quick, but there's a lot of meat here to go over. I don't know if it's feasible to try to cram it in. Just an idea.
What additional comments do you need, Ben?
I haven't gotten anything from the city council as a whole on the questions I asked or the suggestions that Pat just said, so.
You had 2 questions, right? One of them
those timelines is fine.
Timelines, adjusting that, I have no qualm with that.
What was the other one?
The other one was
Continuing on this program, requirement to connect and penalty for failure.
I think that's, I personally think that's still necessary. But the manner in which we implement any, timelines or amounts or penalties, all of those things are probably, negotiable.
right in my head, the same thing, the dollar that I'm willing to look at alternative dollar amounts, timeline, all of that, but the direction we're going is the direction that I was on that committee, and that's where we all kind of came in more or less consensus to that direction, not the specific pieces.
I think those are crucial components, so too. I mean, the penalty, what that dollar amount is.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Right, yeah.
I'm just trying to say that's a big deal, whether it's could be up to 140 or could be up to $30. Or in timelines are a big deal too.
Yeah.
And the nitty gritty of what those timelines mean.
Completely agree.
So, But, you know,
It's time for you all to talk amongst each other.
Yeah.
We need direction from
Well,
you.
there-
so.
we historically have done workshops, you know, so just an idea. Because in that, some of the work at that workshop would also fulfill, I mean, we're gonna have those discussions, you could argue at the second hearing, so some of the homework would be done too, so it might save even effort at the end, at the final workshop, instead of cramming it all in the last hearing. We just have a concentrated workshop just on this stuff. And I remind you that we did on February 22nd, 2024, and I really encourage the council to look at that, to review that, and I did. And there was some pretty strong consensus on that we not duplicate this community health department. I mean, the other agencies that are out there, if you look at that, you go over that tape between now and whenever, just because it refreshed a lot of stuff for me. So, and I think we're kind of, a lot of this is contrary to the direction that we all gave at that meeting, February 22nd. I just recommend. Okay.
There's no duplicated efforts in here. Everything's.
Well, as
if
far
it's
as,
in the sanitarian's ballpark remains in their ballpark, we didn't change any of that stuff.
but I
Or
know
none of
that,
that was been changed as part of.
but it talks about the director will do this, the director will do that, as
In
opposed
September
to.
of 2024, the city council authorized this draft for release to the public. And so something, if you're saying that something changed, it has been authorized by the city council since then.
I'm saying that what we said, we were not gonna duplicate what,
And in September of 2024, you authorized this draft to go forward.
okay, and I know, and I'm saying that basically we've gotten into the monitoring the septic systems business, haven't we? with this?
No, we haven't.
Oh, okay, maybe I have, maybe
Yeah.
I need a lawyer to help me digest this, which is why we should have a workshop probably.
Are there major changes that you all like collectively want, or is it just? Because workshops are typically for major changes. If we're talking about 90 to 180 and 3 to 5, those are not major changes. I don't know if there's a workshop that would help with that.
Whatever.
This has been going on for.
Yeah, I don't feel like we need a one.
I don't see any major points that need to be looked at. Just, I would say some of the specifics. We want to discuss the timelines. We want to discuss the going to 180 days is not a material difference, I don't think.
Okay.
I'll just make one final comment. The part about where people can get relief by coming to the city council and asking for relief, that just seems real haphazard to me, because we all know that depending on who the city council is at the time, you can get different results one year when people go to the city council, different results the next year. It just seems like that. And having, before I got on the council, whenever you came to the council asking for something, you're basically begging for some relief, and it's up to the whims of those people on the council. So it just, I don't know if that would make me feel very good. Oh, I can always go to the council and ask for relief. That actually causes me more trepidation if I were a citizen than less. Anyway, just that's end of my thoughts.
Do we have enough to advance?
We will, and so we'll update the draft based on the public comment we received, the conversation we had tonight. Adjust any other issues that we see or clarifications that we see needed, scrivener's errors, present that to you all in May. Great.
What about the penalty amount? Is that something?
We'll try to put that together in May, what we've talked about as a couple different benchmarks to see, and we'll see if we can do this by May for penalty amount. There is the up to the maximum that sewer users are paying. We talked about backing out operations of the sewer system from that amount, so that those property owners that aren't contributing waste to the system to be treated, collected or treated, aren't paying for the collection or treatment costs, but they are contributing to the debt service to build the plant, the sufficient size to accommodate their waste when the time comes. They're paying for the size of those pipes that are in the ground and participating in that way. So we will try to do that by May, and bring that forward with the rate study that's going on. Otherwise, if that can't happen by May, it'll likely be June when we want to do the rates, reevaluate the rates based on the new source of income from the TPD tax or the general funds that's no longer supporting transportation needs, and then also analyzing the impact of your decision to devote the ARPA funds, the COVID relief funding to the sewer system construction. That wasn't part of the current rate structure. It should be.
Right.
Actually, you know, just my thoughts, if this, because we got the new city manager is gonna come on, he's gonna have his hands full, just learning everything. I have no objection just as one person, if the second public hearing didn't happen until June, because then that person is more brought up to speed. The reason I kept harping on that is you got a whole new brain of somebody that was a city manager, and if we're missing something, it's just a whole new perspective that'd be nice to have. And to give that person time to digest where we're at so that they're a full participant in the final conclusion, rather than this is just delivered, oh, here, we just passed this major ordinance and here you're kind of stuck with it. If they were included in that process, I would just feel a lot better about it. This is why I say that I don't mind a delay. It's more as a courtesy to that person, and also for us to have their input on things, and maybe they'll come up with something we never thought of, and they'll go, hey, over here we did this. And that's all. That's why I question that.
Decisions on that will be up to the city administrator and the mayor, whether to bring it to you for the council agenda in May. We will have the draft updated based on public input that we heard.
Is it appropriate at this point for us to dial in a little closer what we're discussing as far as penalty amount?
I would hope.
Okay.
That
My first impression would be not less than half of what a taxpayer pays.
Do we have an idea about what the difference between the total cost and then would be pulled out the operation and treatment currently?
The ability to get.
Right, okay, so that was my thought was, I don't know what that means, like, what does that number really look like? That would be something that would help me inform my decision on what we're looking for. So I will defer until we have that talk. And again, I'm just one guy, but that's.
I think it's better to defer than to make a hasty decision on the spot or to give a
guidance.
Right, no, and so I agree, I'm not asking, yeah. I would just like to see what that number is, because if it's, is it 25%, is it 50%, is it 70%? Like, I don't know, I have no frame of reference because I'm not in that world. And I
If we
don't,
can't get it done by May, then you'll see it in June.
okay, thank you,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all. I'm asking.
You'll have a
I'm just-
number of different numbers.
I want to make sure that we have just kind of an understanding of that at the council, because it's a big decision for it, that's gonna affect people, so.
It might be worth stating too, as part of the reading of that RCW 35.67.190, this is not a new issue. It's actually something that's been discussed by many municipalities. And because they actually include the language that says such penalty may, in the discretion of such legislative body, be an amount equal to the charge that would be made for sewer service if the property was connected to such system.
Oh.
So that kind of tells you that this has been discussed.
Other places.
Yes.
And
The
their
statute
rate,
was originally adopted in 1941.
This was revised in 2021.
It was originally adopted in 1941. Yes, the last version of it is 2021 under chapter 176, section 522, 112. But yes, they made adjustments in 2021, 1995, 1965, and 1959.
but those sewer rates were a lot smaller in those other jurisdictions. I mean, our rates are a lot higher. We're talking like, right, so that's right. So you recognize that though, that we're talking about probably a lot bigger number than when that wording is used elsewhere.
So, and that's, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to give you more direction on that until I come up with some data on that, if that's fair. I just don't know.
Thank you.
No, we will ensure that that's in the scope of work of the rate study.
Okay, thank you.
speaking of rate study, that brings up a question, the system development charges, and I know what they are. Will we ever, and maybe we have, and I just missed it, but I never have got a good handle. I know what the system development, I've seen the numbers, but I've never had a good handle on what went into creating those numbers. Why system development charges are what they are. And this ordinance talks about waiving this or that. If it's, as long as we're learning about numbers, it'd be nice to know, well, we develop, this is how, this is why the system development charges are what they are.
We'll go through those past meetings, so when the rate analysts evaluated this last time, they provided that information to you. So we'll go through those previous meetings and provide that to those links.
I meant a breakdown of, okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
pretty
the
sure,
cost.
didn't we did go through, because there was a change in fixture counts and, yeah, there was discussion on breaking, or how the tiered pricing. How we came.
Yeah, I remember those numbers. I just don't remember seeing a lot of backup that made me confident that those numbers were based on solid cost, but that's all. It's just maybe me.
We hired somebody.
Uh,
Yeah.
I know we hire people for a lot of things. I
didn't do this.
No, this was based on data, and we all sat around and
Yeah.
dissected it and disseminated it, so.
Okay, I'm just telling you that maybe I'm not very bright, and I never understood where the numbers came from. So that's, and I was in a lot of these meetings. So just, we can have some high-priced person come in and tell us we got those numbers, and if we don't, I'm saying that, well, it costs us so much to have a city employee go do this, and it costs so much for office staff to do that, and that comes to this number. And that's why it's a system development charge. That's what I don't recall ever seeing, but anyway. Like zero-based budgeting, so to speak. That's how that number is created.
I would love to move along. You have some items in your packet, some informational items for your perusal. Staff reports, Ben?
Community Development Director report, there were questions about the development on Rock Cove and whether that was moving forward or not. I've been in contact with the developer there, and that appears to be moving forward. They're taking actions to complete permitting related to that. So that does appear to be moving forward. I wanted to reiterate what the Planning Commission Chair had said at your last meeting, is that they stand ready to help out. And you do have a request from the public to reconsider how we do vacation rentals. That's something that the Planning Commission had worked on 10 years ago and brought to you as a recommendation. I think that they would be ready to take that on again and review what's been presented by the public and round out any rough edges to bring something back to you if you choose to use that. We are moving forward with Skamania County and consultant team to evaluate the critical areas ordinance. We're required to adopt that by the state. This protects wetlands and geologically hazardous areas and critical aquifer recharge areas and fish and wildlife habitat conservation areas. The state requires us to have regulations related to that based on best available science. So we are coordinating with Skamania County to do the analysis, to present a set of regulations. We're moving forward to have the same set of regulations as Skamania County. So they would adopt it as theirs. We would remove several pages of our code reference Skamania County's as that. So that process is moving forward. We do have state funding for that, $10,000 in this fiscal year that ends at the end of June, $10,000 the following year for that. Skamania County has a little bit bigger pot of money, and then the consultant contract is a little bit more for year one than both of ours together. So we'll be sharing that cost overall, the consultant with the county. So that's moving forward, but nothing concrete, no deliverables on that yet. Inform you of. End of report.
Carol?
I don't have something all put together. with water, we received our long-term water supply draft memo. We're reviewing that now. Wastewater, we got 2023 Outstanding Performance Award for our wastewater treatment plant. So great job, crew, in
Nice job,
making that
crew.
happen. Second year in a row. So
Right.
that is very exciting.
Quite a bit different than executive order.
Yes, yes, so massive props to them. Streets, Spruce Up Stevenson is the next weekend, 4/26. Please come, and,
9 to noon and,
9 to noon.
yeah,
What do you, the date's the 26th, right?
Yeah.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
First Street is just about done. Thanks, everybody, for their patience as we do punch lists this week and next week. And nothing on equipment to share, nothing in parks to share, except for the walnut will get some attention during, Spruce Up. Staff, we have a couple really big staff announcements. New babies, John Dexter, one of our utility maintenance workers, like the supervisory utility maintenance worker. Archer Russell on the 30th of March, and Cody Rosander has now Jameson John, born last Friday on the 11th. So very exciting for them. But Cody's not here. And I further narrowed in my exit from the city. I plan to not keep a desk in May here, but I'll work part-time to still be able to support some other things that we have going on, as well as support Cody, because he's not here for a couple weeks this month. So that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions about public worksy type things that they want to ask me.
I have a quick question. So I think it's great you're gonna stick around and help Cody in the transition in May. Do you know an end date for your employment yet? Is that been staff decided?
I'll talk to the new city administrator about it.
Okay, so you don't, no, so you, as of now, you don't know the end date. Okay, thank you.
Ben?
All right, my final interim city administrator report, so thank you for the opportunity to serve you, it's been a pleasure. Staffing updates is part of that being my final, so help is on the way. We've been understaffed for 7 months now. And Wesley will start next Wednesday, looking forward to that. Thank you for passing the personnel policy tonight. That'll allow us to go out and advertise for that utility maintenance worker to begin this summer after Carolyn moves, after Cody moves up in the ranks there. So that is good. Caitlin is back in the office now, part-time basis, working her way back after the birth of her child. So it's good to have her. That's one less temp that we had. That we've been again operating one staff member down for 7 months, and then with 2 temps, and they've been making it happen. But things are starting to feel a little bit more settled now, and forward to that. Look forward to getting back to my community development director job too, and focusing on that to start producing accordingly. The Maine County Department of Emergency Management today put on a wonderful exercise with emergency responders, local jurisdictions about wildfire incidents and what would happen. So it was a great collaborative effort to understand everybody's roles in those different scenarios, and just what we would do if a wildfire, say, were to start at the mouth of the Wind River and jump over and the winds are blowing this way. What are we going to do? And that's not something that we really engage with a lot, that real possibility of that. And so they made it real and helped us think through what we need to do, helped us meet some of the state, federal, other joint responders that we have, and put ideas in front of them and faces to names, and start that ability to coordinate and respond to incidents when they happen. So it was very good that they did that, and very well organized. for that. Spruce up Stevenson again, to hit on that, hopefully everybody comes out, donate some of their time and makes our downtown shine just a little bit going into the high period, high season there, so I think I will end the report with that.
Thank you, Ben, for all that you've done in the interim basis. It is very much appreciated. Okay, so quick question on the vouchers. I have one signature sheet. Don't we normally have two?
What up to?
So I would entertain a motion to approve the vouchers, but we still were missing a signature sheet, so.
On the top, the payroll.
I don't know where, I haven't seen it. Anyway, so there's one signature sheet there, but I would entertain a motion to approve the vouchers.
I make a motion to approve the vouchers.
Second.
We have a first and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, council members, anything for the greater good?
I got something. I'll skip over some of it. How about this? The truth is, the business interests of old white men rule this system, and the rest of us are pretty much expendable. You're either a beast of labor or a trophy, like, ooh, look, it's the first trans council member. I don't give a fuck. I ran for council because I wanted to be more connected to my community and give back to the town that got me off the streets. You want to know why so many trans people have to do sex work? 2024 was the first time since I started transition 6 years ago that my annual income was over $10,000. My income of $1,000 a month makes me richer than 20% of trans people in this country. Our median household income is half of the national median. And those figures are from before the recent wave of organized terrorism and sexual harassment designed to drive us out of our jobs and purge us from society. A government with the power to forcibly alter my sex hormones can do the same thing to you. We are all connected, and a threat to any is a threat to all. I want to encourage you to make good trouble in defense of liberty and equality. If you stand up, many more will see you and feel emboldened to take action themselves. The people are more powerful than you can imagine when you unite in purpose. Community is the opposite of authority. They can't eradicate anyone from public life unless you help them do it. And we conclude with a poem. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning and her name mother of exiles. From her beacon hand blows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the glowing door, the golden door.
Thank you. Sue? Anybody else? Thank you. Right, anything that you would like to see on the agenda next month?
I'd like to see a conclusion to our discussion about the water sewer appropriations. The additional 0.3% that we're getting, we'll start getting in July. That we have a discussion about making a budget amendment to accommodate for the 6 months for the balance of this year.
Do we have any idea when that rate study will be done?
They think,
No.
I'm not. But both the rate study and the budget amendment and appropriation are on the list of issues that are transferred over to Wes already. For him to get up to speed on.
Okay.
And leave the discussion.
It didn't serve any purpose for me to give people this just to look at, to think about.
Better do it here than don't send it out
I
electronically.
can't do it, yes. Okay.
In terms of items, it sounds like the Airbnb correspondence we got that that the planning commission will be taking a deep dive into that issue then, right? So that isn't.
You know, they don't have to if you prefer to run a.
No, I think it's good that myself, just one person.
Yeah, I agree.
If they, you know,
I agree. I
I just,
they're a body who does a lot of those deep dives, so.
yeah, I just wanted to be able to tell those people that I think that they raised some valid concerns as far as our housing and stuff, and so it'd be good that we're looking at that is all, so that we can tell them, well, we're making movement on that, because I think it's a valid thing to look at. Thank you for that.
Okay, so city council fairly recently added an opportunity for a final portion of public comment. This is on something that was on the agenda. If you would like to speak to city council again, something that was on the agenda.
2 minutes or 3 minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
All right.
On the agenda, Mary.
Got the power, yes, one thing, in the sewer, ordinance, I would like to see more discussion about financial aid for homeowners and how we can aid them through block grants or to other, means. Yes, you know, I mean, I know $140 is a lot per month, but once you get to sewer, we're paying 15 million bucks for a sewer system, which eventually everybody's gonna have to use anyway. So, I don't want to penalize people, but I would like them to participate in the community sewer. And I think would benefit the community environmentally and in other ways for development too. The other thing is the vacation rental. One of the things I would like you to address is whether they take up housing stock off the market,
Wasn't on the agenda.
but you discussed it.
It wasn't on the agenda.
Put it on the next agenda.
Finally, not finally, in June 5th, we are having the Stevenson Grange will have.
There. Not on the agenda. Not on the agenda. Not on the agenda. Not on the agenda. Not on the agenda.
Okay.
Anybody else? Relating to an item that was on the agenda. It is 8 o'clock. Thank you all very much for coming. Meeting adjourned.
Michael Scott, need another signature.
Yeah, you got it.
One second sheet.
Well.
I haven't found the second sheet. They were all in. That's your signature?
Pat Rice, thank you.
You're welcome. No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, yeah, your signature.
Yes.
I gotta get a second sheet.
There. I think you got,
Nope.
that's the checks.
That's, well, all the checks will be stacked. Yeah, I don't have the signature sheet of the checks. I gotta just look outside.
No, it's-
Yep. How about you?
I think it's at the, yeah.
Something good comes from Spain. Apparently I get to do right on.
I go home with you?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
It's dinner time. Yeah.
Go.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was great. You've been there before, I'm sure. Great science. It was a, so it's not fair. I'll get it.